Coming up on The Returned.
Hit head on by a speeding car. Bam! And instantly I was outside of my body, watching my body getting tumbled over by this car, hit the bumper and the windshield, it cracked, and then all of a sudden, the whole city of Austin, where this was happening, turned into a little dot, little light, little spot. I'm expanding in all directions. The whole world became a little dot. I was headed beyond time and space.
Hi, and welcome to The Returned. Here's to everything we'll discover together. Hi, and welcome to The Returned, a place where we share near-death stories, out-of-body experiences, spiritual awakenings, signs from spirit, and the journeys of healers and lightworkers from around the world. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like, subscribe, and share to make sure you don't miss out on an episode. Today, I am honored to sit down with Gary Wimmer, a spiritual advisor, intuitive reader, author, actor, musician, who experienced a profound near-death experience in 1977 after being struck by a speeding car. What followed was a journey through the very fabric of consciousness and cosmic expansion and infinite awareness, a rare first-hand glimpse into the mind of the universe itself. Gary, welcome to The Returned.
I'm honored, my dear. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Gary, can you take us back to that day in 1977 and walk us through what happened leading up
maybe I
to
should
your
give you a
near-death
little.
experience?
Maybe I should give you a little prerequisite.
Perfect.
I just turned 78. This all happened when I was 29 in 1977. I got interested in God and Jesus and why things were the way they were way back as a Catholic altar boy. But once puberty hit, I said goodbye to the Catholic Church. Not to God and Jesus, but,
Yeah.
And in college, I started reading a lot of Edgar Cayce. First time I've seen anything that made sense to me about how God and reincarnation and life might actually work and have worked. And that got me real interested. And in 1970, I moved to Austin, Texas, and started giving readings with regular playing cards. And I was traveling as a musician. I was not a good singer, but I was I wanted to play music. I got drafted in 1970. I was an electrical engineer, and it was all Vietnam, and I thought, no way. So I served as a conscientious objector at the Austin State School here from 70 to 72, and then started playing music and traveling. And I didn't have a good voice, so it was quite a challenge. But my curiosity about spirituality kept growing. I started giving readings with regular deck of playing cards. I read a couple books on psychic ability, and whatever they said, I'll adapt to that. I'll try it. I'll make it work, And I was very curious about everything as opposed to my brothers. I had 6 brothers. None of them are curious about how we're here or why or what happens or what control we have. Since I was a young kid, I always wanted to know. So in 1977, somewhat out of the clear blue, I ended up quit traveling on the road for a while and needed a break. And this was the end of January 1977. I'd felt weird that whole day. Something was strange. That night, I unloaded my gear into my duplex where I live with 2 other guys. And, we joked around about the road and stuff. And then I started picking up what they were thinking. I mean, very clearly. One guy wanted to borrow the vacuum, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, man, this is weird. They went to sleep, my roommates. I talked to my neighbors a little bit longer, and then they left. And I didn't sleep all night. And I woke up I was having these profound feelings of, couldn't even explain it. What the hell's going on? It was completely different from 24 hours ago. I got up, I heard my roommate walk outside. He came walking in with a newspaper, And I looked at him, and then all of a sudden saw the newspaper headlines through his eyes. Now that blew me away. What the hell? He sat down and threw the newspaper on the table. I looked at it just stunned. You okay? Yeah. Well, that was the first strong premonition, and that was the end of January. And I walked to the store to get some food a little later, and I kept feeling people's thoughts. I would look at a random stranger 3 blocks away, and I could kind of feel what he was thinking, at least thought I did. And then I would go, scratch your head and point up to that top of that building, and he'd do it. And I thought, now, did I make that happen? Or did I just pick up that that might happen? Because that's cool. But if I made that happen, man, that can be scary. What if I thought car wreck, nuclear war, blah, blah? The intensity of my own thoughts all of a sudden took over everything that I would normally be doing had I not been going through this escalating psychic spiritual ability. So by the second and third day, it became uncanny. My roommates were getting terrified. We'd go out to a bar, and I could tell when people walked through the door, I could tell how they'd be dressed before they'd walk through the door, because prior to entering the bar, I stopped right by the door and felt this strange premonition that I didn't understand. Walked into the bar later. We walked back, listened to the band. Too noisy for me. I came out and sat next to the bar and looked at the door, and all of a sudden I was outside in that exact spot I'd had the premonition about, and I saw 3 or 4 people just walk right through me, and that startled me, and I opened my eyes. I'm still sitting in the chair. The door swung open, and the people walked through dressed exactly as I'd seen them. In fact, I could even pick up their names. And I did this a couple times. Went, Jesus, what is this? My roommate, who was back there listening to the band, came in and said, "Hey, man, what's going on? Come on, bunch of ladies out there." I said, "I'm preoccupied." "With what?" And I bet him I could tell the next couple of people what they were dressed like, and I could. And he said, You just looked outside." I said, "I asked the doorman. Ask these people. I've been right here." That was my roommate. His name is close to Brandon, but I called him Brandon in the book. He was real concerned. And over the next several days, he became kind of helping take care of me. My other roommate was a guy named Mark. He was real dry and cold, and all he knew was Gary's acting weird, and I don't know how much I can take of this. You know? But I had no choice. I had no idea what was going on. My whole priority system in 24 hours had changed from, what am I going to do musically? Okay, now I'm out of the band, to what is happening? An awareness of the multi-minute second. And like I said, there was no neutral. I could either pick up the phone would ring, I knew who it was. Person walked by, I could pick up what they were thinking about, their name. Anything I want. What I couldn't do is turn it off or understand why it was happening. So I was not only highly enlightened, but terrified. For example, we went to a restaurant here called the Filling Station. It used to be in Austin. Maybe it's still there. I don't know. This is 1977. And before we started eating or ordering, my friend Brendan asked me, how are you doing now? I know it's still very intense. I said, yeah, I can't explain it, but let me show you. He goes, okay. When we looked around, I looked at these 2 ladies in the far end of the restaurant, furthest people I could see. And I said, do you know either of those ladies? He kind of looked and went, I don't think so. Well, the brunette was facing away, so neither of us could see her face. And I said, well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to have the brunette write me a letter. He said, what? I said, I'm going to have the brunette write me a letter before she leaves, about what? I don't care. You asked, here we go. We ordered, we ate, he's talking, he's eating. He completely forgot about what I said because, I was going through some changes, scaring people. 15 minutes later, the 2 ladies walked by, the blonde and then the brunette, and she threw a napkin down on my table about this big, and she had written in big, bold, black letters, "Why are you doing this to me?" Now that blew me. I wish I could laugh. It terrified me. I thought, what am I doing? Now I wanted to chase her out of the restaurant and say, what did you experience? What made you write that letter? But I thought, man, I blew this lady's mind. I'm screwing with people's lives. I got to be careful. You got to be careful with your thoughts and your actions. Um,
That's right.
so I was very on super heightened awareness of trying not to screw anything up, but I couldn't turn off this superpower that all of a sudden had just taken over, and I couldn't ignore it. It was overwhelming. So I was always putting it to use. I was either looking at some innocent thing, I looked at like a guy riding down a bicycle, and I said, pull over to the side and check your back tire, and he'd do it. And I thought, man, now I must have known that guy was about to do that or picked it up, or did I make it happen? I could not tell the difference. And that's when things got
That is
so
something.
intense. Now, by this time, I started feeling these guardian angels who had been watching me. And
Hmm.
that gave me some sort of confidence, sense of security. I couldn't see them. They could feel me. They were monitoring me. So I started calling them the monitors. Either that or they suggested it or we agreed on that term. And I kept saying, show yourselves, talk to me. What's going on?
Yeah.
But I didn't get that answer. But I did feel them all the time. Um, Long story short, after a week of this is February 7th, 1977. I'm 29. I've gone through a week of this intense, escalating, haunting, but very interesting and fascinating different reality. It's like being, and I have gone through the sex, drugs, and rock and roll phase. So I've had my experience with psychedelics and LSD, and no drug can do this. This is so far beyond what any drug could do. In fact, to some degree, I'm glad I had the drug experiences because it would have driven me more crazy. This is like a super acid trip without the trip, without all the hallucinations. It was real, verified before my eyes every second. I'd have a question and I'd look. I remember one time just thought, how do I do this? How do I balance this? And I just right then a bicycle rider came by and he was riding without his hands, balancing. I thought the symbolism was so strong. It didn't answer my question about go right or left, but it said balance. That's what you're asking about? Balance. Stay balanced. By choice, by practice. I was picking up signs of the universe. I was feeling my guides talk to me. Uh, my roommates and people were concerned. We'd sit out,
Yeah.
my roommate and I would sit out on the porch, and we lived on a hill, and on our porch there was trees on both sides. You could hear cars come up, but you couldn't see them till they cleared and got to the top of the hill between the trees, right? But you could hear them, and we'd sit out there in the morning and drink coffee, and I could see the car. I could read the license plate. I saw the driver. I knew all about the driver just thinking about it. And then now the only thing I could prove is the color of the car and maybe the license plate, and whether it was a male or female. And car after car after car would come by, and my
Mm.
roommate was blown away. It's a heavy set guy tapping on the damn driving a station wagon, tapping on the dashboard. He's real pissed off at his workers. 2 seconds later, the guy'd come into view. He'd be doing exactly that. And see, I had no doubt whatsoever, none, that I could pick this up because it just crawled upon me or came or exposed itself, and you can't deny it.
Yeah.
What I was curious about is what the hell's going on? Is this permanent? Is my life going to get weirder and weirder? And I kept feeling, like I said, I
I'm
kept feeling,
sorry.
oh, it's hilarious when I look back. It was kind of hilarious at the time. I was able to look at the irony. I was.
It
Because I
just
kept
makes
thinking,
me laugh because you're so funny telling it.
oh,
Yeah.
it was scary and hilarious. My friends were concerned. My older brother came down to see me, and I was talking all sorts of abstract wisdom quirks about the universe and correlations.
Oh
What
my
the hell's the
goodness.
matter with you? Are you on drugs? I said, no. So far beyond what any drug could ever do, and I didn't know why. You know, Girlfriends were concerned, my roommates were concerned, friends would come over concerned. But like a friend would call and say, look, I'll be over there in about an hour and a half or two. I'd look up at the clock. It'd be 11 in the morning, and the clock would just jump up to 1:12 and then go back to whatever time it was. So I knew that he was going to walk through that door at 1:12, and I was absolutely right every time. And I couldn't turn this
Wow.
off. So it was fascinating but haunting because it kept escalating. And finally, this is February 7th, 1977. It got so intense and so scary, still fascinating, but I couldn't walk this tightrope any longer. I needed to go one way or another or get back to normality or take me to heaven or kill me or something. But this is too much. I can't control it. It's out of control. I have no idea what's going on or why. But it ain't normal, and I can't deal with normal life. And I decided to leave my duplex. It's February, cold. I started just racing down the streets, half jogging, half walking, terrified, not sure where I was going to go. My roommates are going, "Where's he going?" I don't know. Bam, I'm out the door. Can't sit in the duplex any longer and be claustrophobically terrified and picking up stuff that's going on blocks away randomly. I felt like the whole, and I kept feeling this when I go to bed at night, try to sleep. I felt the whole web of me connected to my roommates, them connected to other people. Everybody's interconnected in this
Wow.
big, like, spider web. And all of us were moving and doing things, but every shake affects something else, you know? And then I felt like we all have like a match, a light. We're all individually responsible for everything for a millisecond in time, and then we pass the torch. And that's how it works. All these very abstract thoughts and feelings about what we have control over, why we're here, and so forth. And the more I thought about it, the more elaborate and beautiful and confusing it became. So February 7th, 1977, after going through all this confusion and interest and terror, joy and wonderment and bafflement, but I need to get back to normal somehow. Just can't do it any longer. And I'm racing down Guadalupe Street here in Austin, Texas, and literally I'm crying and I'm praying and I'm terrified. And there's people along the street that are kind of looking at me like, what the hell is with this guy? And I felt so explosive, I guess, that I wanted to warn them all, don't get near me. I might blow up. And I felt that way. I was right on the edge of completely, I don't know what, I didn't know what, but I was right at the edge of something. And in this middle of this terror and this confusion and this fear and this crying, and all of a sudden it immediately stopped. I felt this immediate warmth, just like that. And in February, it's like my little thin coat was even warm. What the hell? Opened my eyes and looked up, and there was this huge spotlight encircling me about 2 feet either way. And it was about 6 feet above me, not 4, not 12. And it was a big white spotlight. And I looked around at all these people who had been watching me because I've been screaming and crying, and they're just still staring at me. They don't even acknowledge what just changed. This big light just appeared out of nowhere. And I didn't care because I thought this is more important than whatever they think or see or don't.
Yeah.
And I looked back up, and the light became a crystal table. And around it were these 7 kind of grayish robed monitors, the monitors I'd been feeling. And I looked at them, and they said, "Do you trust us?" in one big voice. And I said, "You're the monitors. You're what I've been feeling." "Yes." "Do you trust us?" I said, "Man, I don't understand what's going on. This is so." "Shh. Do you trust us?" And I finally said, "Yeah, it seemed like the best option right now." Long story short, and I explain it in the book, A Second in Eternity, which tells all about this whole story, even the police records you're about to hear about. So they said, "Okay, thank you for trusting us," or something to that. And with a split second or two, I was hit head on by a speeding car. Bam. And instantly I was outside of my body, watching my body getting tumbled over by this car, hit the bumper and the windshield, it cracked. And then all of a sudden, the whole city of Austin, where this was happening, turned into a little dot, a little light, a little spot. I'm expanding in all directions, not like a balloon. Not like an arrow, like a balloon. The whole Austin became a spot. The whole world became a little dot inside me because I was expanding outward in all directions simultaneously. Beyond time and space, I was headed beyond time and space. It seemed to happen simultaneously and sequentially at the same time, but it was not the same feeling of time I just had, a half a second earlier. And I didn't know what was happening, why, but it was pure joy. It was
Mhm.
the most beautiful experience. And pretty quickly, I had no idea of me. It was just pure sensation. And it was beautiful. And it was just like, wow, I didn't know who I am or where I'm going, but this is the most joyous thing I've ever felt. It was expanding through the universe. I passed through what conceptually and spiritually and psychically felt like the edge of the universe. And right as I went through that, I felt like I experienced this level of consciousness that seemed to call itself the colors. And as we
Oh.
come into the planet, because we come into the planet at birth to the mother by collapsing in from all edges of the universe right down to the point of birth. And when we leave by going out in every direction. That's how it
Oh,
works.
wow.
I never even thought of that, but it was so clear, evident to me right now. I was like, wow, okay, this is how we come and go, you know? So I was seeing all this incredible symbolism and power racing through time and space, and went to the edge of the universe and saw this level called the colors, and then saw like a whole sky full of universes. And they were like a star-studded sky, and that's the one I came out of. And then this whole series of infinite universes, it looked like, wrapped up into like a big tube, a big tunnel, and turned into a tunnel of light. That's a beautiful description, because that's exactly what it felt like. And I was being shot through this tunnel of light like a clown at a circus, but it was beautiful. And it was silver white clouds, kind of like the color of the mattress behind you, the furry thing.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of reminds me of it. It's kind of silverish white, and they're spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah, very comforting. No fear, and also no awareness of me. It was just pure awareness of what I was going through, and it was beautiful. Then I came out of the tunnel of light, almost like the clown shot out of the cannon at the circus, and I'm in this infinite blue void, and it is beautiful. And I realize I'm in the infinite mind of God. There's everything, and everything is separate, independent, but it's all connected to one infinite consciousness. This is the source. This is what created everything and makes everything manifest still. And there were two possibilities, either infinite creativity, which I was experiencing, seeing, feeling, knowing. And if it weren't there, there'd be nothing. There's nothing in between. There's no way to have, because whatever is bigger than infinite universe, we'll call that the boss. Okay? Buck stopped somewhere.
Yep.
And I was where the buck stopped. And the most fascinating thing beyond its infinite creativity, infinite possibilities, infinite time, is there is zero bias. Zero. None. Biases are human. This is just infinite possibilities. We develop bias by being this person in that situation or that person in that situation. But infinite mind gave everything a possibility of existing. And just by the fact that it has a possibility of existing, it will exist. So everything will happen and does. It always has been. But it's not consuming energy and burning up universes and so forth. It's all in the infinite mind and imagination of infinite mind. And we get to view it too. We're a part of it. We're a, podcast in that universe,
Yeah.
Uh, the beauty of infinite parallels, one infinite mind creating and manifesting everything. And infinite mind has levels too. Just like biology, we have everything from amoeba to squirrels to us. Billion levels of life here. There's a billion infinite levels on the other side. They're just not as clearly defined. They're not limited. They're not in time and space. They're more like one infinite jello or frequency, but they're not as separate and distinguished as stuff is in time and space. Because in time and space, no two things can occupy the same time and space, period. Physics prohibits it. In mind, you can have two contradictory thoughts, So infinite mind was not only fascinating and beautiful, but unbiased and unlimited. And I didn't even know it was me observing it or being part of it. But suddenly it felt like I was. I was observing it. And I didn't know who I was, but I felt this certain degree of separation. I started being pulled away. And whoa, I like it there. I had no idea who I was or what was pulling me away or why. But I went back through this tunnel of light, kind of,
Oh, my goodness.
And I came out of that and I was saw all these universes that had folded into this tunnel of light. And there's my universe. I don't know how I knew. I felt like I was being pulled toward it, magnet or something, attraction.
Hmm.
Still didn't know who I was or what that universe meant, but I knew I was leaving where I was, and it was pretty nice. So I started heading into this universe again, and I came into the edge of the universe and went through the colors, which again, the colors is a level that gives us the ability through our human senses and brain, smell, touch, sound, thinking, to comprehend our own existence. And that's what the colors to me represented, the level of consciousness, because once we come here, that's all embedded in our, uh, subconscious, and we can tap into it. Just like you can learn to play golf, but you got to decide to play it and you got to go practice it, no matter what you're talking about, expanding your consciousness or whatever. However, still, I did not know why I was going through this. So after I started coming back to Earth, I felt an attraction toward it, a connection. Didn't quite understand it, still didn't know who I was. But the closer we got to this planet, the more I saw three series of pictures. The first is what we're going through now. In 1977, I saw all these societies screaming and hollering and panics and people pissed off and revolting in the street. And this was 1977, where, yeah, we had crap, but it wasn't like now. It wasn't so extreme. So I saw all that. The second series of pictures, and people ask me, what did I see? I say, look at breaking news any minute. I saw all this stuff in like a millisecond with thousands of flashcards. I saw 9/11. I saw pictures
Oh,
of those planes going through. And in 1991, when it was 2001, I was over in Europe playing on a cruise ship. A Swedish guy told me that towers just got hit or one. I ran down the crew room just as the second plane went through. Wham! I looked around, these people in this blue uniforms that work for the ship all around me. I had seen that exact picture of that airplane going through a building on a TV with these people in blue uniforms in 1977.
hmm.
One of millions of flashcards. I saw COVID-19. It looked like a big oil slick crawling over the world, but it didn't feel like oil, but it looked like oil. And right as COVID-19 started taking over, that was the symbolism for COVID-19. Uh, it turned out to not be greasy oil. It turned out to be, black and dark like the cleanser, you know. Uh,
That's right.
like a black magnet's going to suck a bunch of bad crap out. So, then it'll disrupt a lot of lives and people along the way. But so does war and starvation and a lot of human endeavors, unfortunately. Not everything's a
Yeah.
beautiful piece of cake. Uh, but one thing I discovered in my near death experience, which I'll continue, is it's all attitude. It ain't
Hmm.
situation. It's always how we look at the situation. So I'm coming back and I see these three series of pictures. The first is about this chaos we're going through. The second series was the other side of this chaos. And that
Hmm.
seemed like it was, not a specific date, but, 100 years from now, when we're in the age of Aquarius more fully, a different
Mm-hmm.
world. Now, I don't know if there's going to be 30 billion people there or just 200 million or 50. I don't know. It's not all written in stone, and it's an experiment. The whole human endeavor and race is an experiment, in consciousness, in biology, in evolution, in infinite mind, in infinite possibilities. If we all get wiped out, we may start the whole process again here or somewhere else because the infinite mind is in no rush. It's got infinite time. So anyway, I saw these three series of pictures. The third was a picture of a musician and a psychic. And I thought, man, I must know this guy. It turned out it was me. I didn't know. Then all of a sudden I saw my body in the street and these people hovering around and screaming. I couldn't see my face, but I knew it was me because all I could see was this red-haired guy leaning over into my face. But I knew that was me, and immediately I jumped back into my body. Wham! And there's this red hair hanging all down my face, And this guy's screaming. He's terrified. He was the driver of the car. And I tried to stop. I could stop you away. He's terrified. Well, I just been to heaven, an infinite mind. I didn't feel a thing. I had absolutely no pain. I wasn't hurt. I knew it intuitively. I looked up, the whole car's banged up, the windshield broken, people are screaming and hollering. And me, I just went to heaven and back, but this is pretty eerie. What am I going to do next? So I
Oh
got up
my
to start
goodness.
asking. I started asking these people if they saw these monitors above me. That scared them. They made a big circle around me. They didn't know whether to get close or not, or talk to me. And I could see they were concerned. It's like, and I thought, screw this. This ain't making any sense to me. It ain't gonna make any sense to them. I'm going home. So I started walking, and they, no, no, stop. Cops will be
Oh,
here in a minute. And I thought, yeah, I don't want a bunch of cops and EMS guys chasing me down the street or down the alley trying to. I heard the sirens, and I thought, okay, I'll just wait.
oh,
I'll explain it to them when they get here. Well, within no time, cops, ambulance, police came, and they're all looking around the street for this body. This guy got hit by a car. There's the car. It's all broken up. Well, I'm over in the crowd talking to these people, saying, man, did any of y'all? And they're going, where's the? And I said, oh, okay, I'm the guy you're looking for. You're the guy that got hit by the car. I said, yep, that's me. They rush over. How are you even standing? Just like you on your 2 feet, You're not hurt. I said, no, I don't feel a thing. I'm fine, And what happened? And as soon as I started explaining, which did involve me having higher consciousness and a trip to the unknown, that didn't make a bit of sense to them. And they're just looking like, man, this guy's nuts. And I would have thought the same damn thing. I wouldn't have believed me. They walked over and talked to all the witnesses, and they said, yeah, the guy was screaming and crying and praying and terrified, and he looked up and he was smiling and happy, and then all of a sudden, long story short, got stumbled into the street and hit by this car, and immediately everybody rushed out to help him, and before he could even help, he jumped back up to his feet like nothing happened. Because to me, I felt no pain. I saw the car. I knew this happened, but it was irrelevant. Hell, man, I just went to heaven.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Well, they didn't want to hear that story, so they wouldn't let me go home. Cops, ambulance, police, after they figured out, yeah, I'm the victim, and I should have been. They were looking for, blood all over and bodies and screaming and hollering, and I'm up having a frantic conversation with the observers. I wanted to see if they saw this thing. Is it just me? Yep, happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I tried to explain a little bit to the police and ambulance. They didn't want to hear it. They're trying to figure out something that they can comprehend out of this whole situation. From what the witnesses were telling him and what I was telling him, it was like, oh God, man, what? Can't you just have a simple accident where the guy's hurt and shuts up and we call him off to the ambulance? Why you got to explain this to me, buddy? Because you're asking. You asked me what
Oh
happened.
my
This is what
goodness.
happened.
Mm.
I asked them if they'd let me go home. No, 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 no. They had to take me to the emergency room, x-ray me, check me out, which they did. X-rayed me, about 30 minutes there. When the driver tried to, I'm scared, I pushed him away. I got up on my feet and started talking to these people. And he kept kind of coming back because he felt this responsibility. He just ran over me. I don't know if I'm in shock or crazy or what. And I kind of kept pushing him away. And he stepped back a little bit and tripped over his own feet and fell into a couple of witnesses. And I thought I was going to help him up. I tried to. I think, like Jesus, I was going to help him up and try to hug him and give him a kiss. And that didn't help. And somewhere in there, I said something to the effect of, because he wouldn't leave me alone at first. Man, you're here. I said, shut up or leave me alone or I'll rape you. Why I said that, I have no idea, but I needed a shock factor to get him away. I didn't say I was going to
Yeah.
hit him or slap him. I'm going to rape you. That ought to give you a couple feet. Let me think.
God.
What the hell am I going to do? What did I just go through? I don't need you worrying about me. I'm fine, which shocked him and all the people and the cops and the ambulance and the police when they came to the scene. I'm the only one who seemed to not being affected by it in any negative way. I just went to heaven. Well, they had to take me to the emergency room, and they did, and they x-rayed me, and they realized I was fine. And then some cops came in and tried to talk to me because the driver filed assault charges when I pushed him back to get away,
Oh my
primarily to
goodness.
cover his butt. Obviously, as soon as the cops told me, "Oh, he didn't get hurt. He fell into some people. He's driving me nuts." I pushed him away. Let me think, buddy. But he did to cover his own ass because he's the one who hit me. You know,
Uh-huh.
I put it in context and kind of laughed and blew it off. And uh, sure enough, uh, when they let me out of the hospital, they took me to jail because I was booked on what was the charge? Some stupid charge about assaulting an innocent watcher or something, and the charge of public lunacy because they didn't know what to
Oh
do
my
with me.
God.
They can't let me just walk away. Oh, when they took me to the emergency room, they x-rayed me. I was fine. Rolled me over in the corner, didn't know what to do with me. I could tell that's what's going on. What do we do with this guy? We
Uh,
can't just let him walk home. They sent a psychiatrist in. And I knew this guy's name and his degree. I'd seen him several times in premonitions. In fact, I saw this whole thing in premonitions over the week it was happening. I saw lights and cops and police and ambulance. I didn't know it was
wow.
me. I thought it was, wow, I'm going to witness some accident. Maybe I get to save someone's life, or I don't know. Had no idea it was me until then. And then it's like, oh. So I knew the psychiatrist's name, and he's going, "Have you ever been a patient of mine?" I said, "No." "How do you know all this?" I said, "Doc, man, I just been through the most." I tried to explain it to him. He said, "Well, I've heard about this. I've never seen anybody who's claimed to have gone through this." And I said, "I did. I'll give you an example." He goes, "Fine." He's a pretty doubting Thomas. I thought for a second last weekend when your wife was out of town, you and your son changed all the furniture around in the living room, and she came home, was kind of frustrated, liked your efforts, but it consumed too much floor space. And she wanted to go back to the original. He almost fell over. Well, it was so clear to me. I just look at him, I could see this. This just happened a day or two ago. Eh, And I said, "I can tap into anything right now. Can't you just let me go?" And he said, "No, we can't. It's just too bizarre behavior. We're going to have to put you in a psychiatric hospital because, you got hit by a speeding car and you get scratched. Didn't even ask him, like it didn't even happen. Most people would be, what the hell?" I said, "Well, I
Uh-huh.
was, what the hell? But, I didn't get hurt. So, yeah, I'm still curious about what happened, and why. I was curious about why. I knew what I went through. When I came
Mm-hmm.
back a couple seconds later after I was hit by the car, I knew where I went. You just cannot deny that. I didn't know why. I didn't know what I was going to deal with next. I did feel like there's going to be a bunch of grounding agents that are going to be around me. And there were
Mm-hmm.
cops, ambulance, police, family, psychiatric hospital. All these energies were brought around as grounding agents to keep me from slipping away again. I still got to stay on this planet and finish my job. But
Mm-hmm.
I was so psychic then. Hell, I could have just gone the other side and stayed there and been fine and dandy and happy. So anyway, they wouldn't let me out of wouldn't let me go home. They committed me to Shoal Creek. They committed to a psychiatric hospital here. Uh, and I would have too. I wouldn't have, they were doing their job. They're going, "This guy's talking nonsense. Wow, this is the bizarrest thing I've ever seen." Even when I went to the hospital, when they rushed me down to the hospital from the scene of the accident, there's 20 people out there from the emergency room. Who is this guy that just got hit by a car and didn't even get a scratch? I want to see this body. And as I was going in, I was getting everybody a thumbs up and talk. I could pick up their name, all about their
Oh
lives. I was
wow.
talking to two nurses about stuff and blowing their mind. And one guy finally said, "Just shut up. We're taking the emergency room. Be calm. Don't talk." Okay. I thought, okay, that gives me a good reason not to. And I'll repeat that same lesson because they wouldn't let me walk home. They committed me to the jail because they had to get orders of protective custody signed by a judge, my family,
Mm.
to put me in a psychiatric hospital. It's got to be done
Oh my
legally. So
goodness.
meanwhile, they threw me in jail for 2 days until my brother, who lived in Austin, could get together with them and sign the forms and have me committed. They couldn't just let me walk home. So I was in jail for 2 days behind these little bars, and I could see little slivers of people's faces. And they're asking me, "What happened to you?" And I said, "Man, I just got caught going from normal consciousness to higher infinite consciousness and seeing infinite mind and all our possibilities and coming back. And this all happened when I was involved in a head-on collision with a speeding car and I didn't get hurt. And they're just, what? So I had everybody's interest. We asked. I can't lie. So I start picking things up about them and their cases and their lawyers. And one by one, they started asking questions. In fact, I even interrupted. Hey, Joey, shut up. I'm talking to him. And the cops heard all this commotion, the jailers, and they came back and looked at me and said, you shut up. You're not a lawyer. You can't give these people legal advice. Shut up or we will put you in solitary confinement. Do you understand? Yeah. And so, like I said earlier, that was a relief because now I don't have to talk to them. Under order, I can be quiet because I couldn't cut it off. I could feel their questions. I could answer them. Why wouldn't you do that? You know, see someone starving of water and dying of thirst, you got a jug of water, give them some damn water, you know? Wow. So I shut up. And 2 days later, they took me from jail after the paperwork got done to Shoal Creek Psychiatric Hospital here in Austin. And I was, in no time, became Mr. Smiles. I was entertaining everybody, playing music for them. I was a comedian. Everybody loved me. I did no harm. But what was interesting is the first day I was there, I remember they said, your psychiatrist will come in and introduce himself sometime today. And I looked at the clock and I saw 2:35. And then it went back to 10:30 or whatever. I can't remember. But I remember I saw that it jumped ahead like clocks had been doing for the past week. Someone called on the phone. Hey, I'll be over in a while. I jumped in, 12:48. And I knew that's exactly when they're coming through the door. Why this was happening, I had no idea, but it was still happening. And so I borrowed 7 envelopes and sheets of paper from the nurse's desk, and I wrote 2:35 and put it in an envelope and sealed it and gave it to the nurse's staff and said, please give this to my doctor, whoever he is, whenever he comes in. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So at 2:35 or whatever, he came walking in my door and had this envelope. And he said, is this a letter for me? I said, yeah. I said, well, I'll read it later. I'm Dr. I said, well, no, open it now. Read it now. It's real short. He goes, okay. Open up 2:35. What does that mean? I said, look at your watch. Huh. That's a coincidence. It ain't a coincidence, Doc. Let me introduce myself. And we started talking. And the more we talked, the less he could quite understand what the hell I'd been through. He was a very fundamentalist Baptist psychiatrist by the book. And I asked him, I said, you've never had a psychic experience? You've never had a spiritual experience like this? You've never done psychedelics? Because they kept saying, a lot of this that happened to you is because of your past drug use. I said, no, I know the difference between psychedelics. They can't go here. They stop at a certain point. And they got all kinds of colors and crap. I had none of that. I had just infinite clarity. This was not a drug induced. And I even started telling him about his kids, his 2 sons. He didn't even ask. He didn't even mention about it. And that blew his mind. He couldn't handle the fact that I was picking up stuff about him and about his life and his wife and his family. But he knew I meant it harmlessly. So we had a pretty tense relationship. He started spending less and less time with me. And every day he'd walk in with the envelope and I said, please open it. And no, I'm not going to play this anymore, Gary. It's not a game, Doc. You don't believe in psychic ability. I'm trying to prove to you right before your own eyes that it does exist. And you got it, and everybody's got it. How much clearer proof can you get? I handed her that envelope in the morning. Go ask her. I sealed it. And you don't come in at any particular time. Because he doesn't know his schedule. Anyway, at the end of 7 days or 10 days, it was a mandatory 10-day commitment issued by the judge, signed by my brother because of my chaotic behavior. And I would have done the same thing. You couldn't let me go home. I needed to be calmed down. They gave me lithium carbonate. Oh. My lithium levels were so out of balance, so extreme. And by the 10th day, by the third or fourth day, I started calming down. But even the first couple days, I was still amped up. It took about 7 days for me to kind of get back to the normal, which was they're checking your blood every day for the lithium levels. Um, and meanwhile, I just been to heaven back in this whole hospital and my friends and dealing with these doctors and leaving him letters and entertaining the students. I was having a ball. Plus, I just been to heaven. How can you not have a ball when you just got back from heaven a couple of days ago? That'll last a lifetime. And by the way,
Yeah.
it has.
Yeah.
Since that time in 1977, I went through a lot of depression and anxiety and fear. As a musician, I started playing music in 1963, guitar. And I never thought I'd be a professional musician, but 1970, graduated electrical engineering degree and avoided the draft by being a conscientious objector here at Austin State School. And 2 years later, still defense work, and I thought, screw this, I could just play music. And that was a challenge because I had a crappy voice. But after 1977, even seeing these pictures of me, like I told you, the third group of pictures had me playing piano. I didn't hardly play piano then. I had me touring in Europe. Man, I'd love to do that. How do I get there? Sure enough, I did. In 1980, I quit traveling on the road. I started playing a lot of these big country dance hall bands around them. We had big audiences then. We'd make a ton of money. We get 80% of the door. We'd walk away with $400-500 per musician. A lot better than $500 a month traveling on the road and coming back broke. So I started playing all these country dance hall bands and making a ton of money and not having to travel. I had a piano in my house. I started practicing piano 12 hours a day from 1980. And about every 2 hours, I'd pat myself on the back to stay charged, to stay interested. But literally, I'd practice 12 hours a day. I wanted to learn to play the piano. Wanted to since I was a kid. But 6 brothers, 4 to a room, you ain't going to put a piano in there. You know, oh, shoot, Gary. They weren't into music. They were into sports and business and being tough guys. I was the guy into music and art and writing and psychic ability and, so anyway, in 1980, I started teaching myself piano, practicing 12 hours a day. In 1984, I talked my way into a couple piano bars. In fact, the major ones here in town in Austin were the best piano players in Austin were playing. And singers, and they started when they were 6. I started a couple years ago. I'm their same age, and they got 25 years experience, and I got 3.5. But they needed piano players, and they started booking me in these major piano player clubs, and I showed up and did the gig, and I still was a crappy singer, not a good player. But as you might be able to detect by now, there's one thing I can do. I can talk.
Absolutely.
I grew up with 6 brothers. I can talk. In 6 brothers, 4 of us, 5 of us, very 5 years. So we had to really fight for our turf at the dinner table, and respect somebody else's time to talk.
Right.
So yeah, I became a good entertainer. And even at this very good piano bars where the best piano players in town are, they had to spice up their act because Gary talks to people, gets them to laugh, tells them crappy jokes, introduces Joe over here who's looking at Margaret over here, get them together, quit playing eye games. Y'all give them a round of applause. I was entertaining. And then I'd play some piano, and then I'd get back to making jokes. But even the other piano players went, hey, we got to reinvent ourselves. This guy's the crappiest singer, crappiest player's been in here, and he's getting the biggest crowd. Which convinced me again at the time, something I learned in 1977 through my near-death experience, having survived it and coming back showered in light and knowledge, or at least the possibilities of getting more knowledge and becoming more enlightened. I wasn't that day, but I've been working on it since. But yeah, I chose to be entertaining. I chose to use my skill set for what I could. And in past the 1980s, I became a solo player. I traveled all over Europe, 93 to 2000, me, my guitar, my computer, playing solo. Now, 1980, I got instant psychic ability, like I said, in the late 60s. Started playing music in the early 60s. Started giving readings in the early 70s when I moved to Austin. In 1980, I met a lady named Alice Worrell. She was the most gifted psychic I've ever known.
Hmm.
Uh, and she immediately did a reading by a method she called lithomancy, Lithomancy. You may not be able to see the L there. But, in fact, you can go to look at lithomancy.com and you'll get to my website,
Uh-huh.
lithomancy.com. And she did a reading for me with a method I'd never seen. It was fascinating. She used 16 stones that I charged up in my
Oh.
hands. 10 of them represent planets, like astrology: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And the other 6 are life, love, luck, commitment, timing, and place. Charged them up in my hands. She had me drop them in a circle of leather that read like a clock from the center to 12 o'clock and then around for 12 weeks. And she was right on. And I love this system. I'd never seen it.
Never
And
heard
I
of it
said,
myself.
me neither. And I thought, wow, I've seen tarot cards. And I had been giving readings for years with regular playing cards. I got a simple book of psychic stuff here somewhere.
Hmm.
It said, here's how you interpret regular playing cards. I went, that's good enough for me. If you believe it and you practice it, whatever system it is, hell, you can read anything. Really, if you think about it. Most people don't. And I never did either till I went through my NDE and realized, wow, everything's interconnected and we are all connected to infinite mind. And we can tune into that channel by choice, by practice, grow and evolve, or do none of the above. And I chose to do the above. So anyway,
Wow.
she did a reading for me. She had a class a couple weeks later. I attended. It was pouring rain. It was only her and I. And it was raining so hard, she gave me a 10-minute quick lesson. We both went home. The next day, I got 16 stones, a little scotch tape and a little marker, and marked them as the 16 stones I just mentioned. And about a couple hours later, some friends came over. I practiced, started doing them right then. And I could pick this stuff up. I was interested. She showed me a basic technique. That's enough for me, because most of it is intuitive. You don't have to remember a bunch of rules. If you know what the
Hmm.
stones represent, you can look at them and see how they touch and point and whatever. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, I started learning that. It became my main system. And to this day, I still use it. And I like it because it's so intuitive. So intuitive.
Gary, let's go back and do a few questions for the audience. Your
Right, my
story
dear.
had me giggling, not
Well,
because it's funny, but
I can be a
you are
monologue.
hilarious. Oh my goodness, you are so funny. You have quite the personality and the a really interesting story. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my notes here that I wrote down. I wanted to go back to, yeah, out of the blue, you get all these voices, you hear people, you know things just out of the blue. Do you think that this was something that was pre-planned for you before birth?
I'll say it this way: I don't believe in accidents or coincidences.
Right.
I only
Okay.
believe in one thing as far as what happens is cause and effect. Something made something happen.
Do you know
Things just,
what
yeah,
it was that made that happen?
I found out later because in 1977, after I had it and got released from the hospital and living back with my roommates and my friends were dropping by, everybody's concerned. They want to know what happened to God. I don't understand this. And I explained the story, and when I saw that, blew their mind, still blew mine, except for one thing. Why did I have this? I had
Yeah.
to know, and I kept asking my guides, thank you, thank you, thank you, not complaining. So
Hmm.
grateful. I mean, what an experience. But why me? Did I get a lucky lottery ticket? Did y'all get the numbers backwards or something? I don't know. I kept asking. And it was about September or October that same year, several months later, I forget exactly when, because it blew me away. I was sitting out on my porch playing my guitar, and once again, I was asking the universe, because I saw these monitors. They knew everything about me. They took me to Infinite Minded back and hadn't talked to me since, you know. Will you guys call me up and explain why I had this? I gotta know. So in this September, October, somewhere around there, when I'm playing my guitar out on the porch, all of a sudden, out of clear blue, I could feel them out in the front yard somewhere looking at me. I couldn't see them this time. Didn't have to. I felt them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Traffic stopped. The wind stopped. Time stopped. Cars froze. For what was probably just a second or two, but it seemed like this went on for 2 to 3 minutes.
Mhm.
They started shooting this light into my head. I started feeling this sort of information coming into my brain. And then all of a sudden, I saw like screen credits at the end of a movie. They're vanishing in the distance. You know, you read things, Superman, whatever,
Yeah,
And I
right.
was reading exactly what they were saying in the same low, I use this term, James Earl Jones voice that originally had said, "Do you trust us?" The same monotone voice,
Mhm.
unified voice, one voice. There
Mhm.
were 7 monitors, but they spoke with one unified voice. And again, I'm hearing that same voice, but I don't see him. But they start saying, I'm paraphrasing, you had this experience because you were always curious. You always wanted to know. You were an altar boy. You're asking the right questions. You left the Catholic Church because you knew it was limitations, so you were still searching. And finally, we figured out that you can handle the truth. We'll take you there. And we did.
Wow.
They even made me wait 8 months before they answered that question to make sure that my curiosity and intentions were worthy enough for them to address them and answer them. And they did so clearly. They even said, you will have a lot of extreme experiences in your life. You're very psychic, but they confirmed I'm bipolar. You got to watch what you eat. You got to watch your mood. You got to watch all this. And I think, well, if it takes a crazy person with a lot of issues to go through heaven and back, hell, sign me up again. I'll take it. Because, like I said, a lot of people have had NDEs. I don't know anybody's had one quite like mine. Of course, no two are the same.
No.
No two are
No
the
two are
same.
the same.
No two people are the same. No two spots in time and space are the same. But that's why I had the experience. And to this day, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful don't you live in Ukraine. I'm grateful for everything. But I'm certainly
Mhm.
grateful that they revealed to me sooner rather than
Right.
later. Because if I was this 45, almost 50 years ago, if I still
Mhm.
didn't know, I'd be real crazy. So they let me
Right?
ask the question several times, make sure my intentions, make sure I could handle the truth. So I encourage everybody, be curious, ask questions, think outside the box, knock and the door shall be opened. Asking you
You
shall
know,
receive. Not everything, but 8 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 is better than 0 out of 10 because you never asked,
you
never
have a
tried.
real point there. Um, Now, what you just said about no two near-death experiences or incidents no two are the same. But
Absolutely.
something, since I have been tracking, since I started this podcast, is I have found a lot of people that have had near-death experience have experienced trauma.
There's certainly some.
I
There's
I
people.
just about I would say out of all my guests, I would say a good 70 something percent. And not that I'm saying they're saying, okay, this is why, but it's just something that has shown itself to me. So I'm like, wow, that's strange. I just wrote it down here too, like another trauma that now he's been there. I from trauma, me as well. My background wasn't good growing up, and I had one as well.
Well,
And
maybe
then
it's
I know
traumatic. Maybe it's traumatic at the time, just like going through puberty or getting kicked off
could
the
be,
baseball team or a
could
boyfriend
be.
dumps you. There's a lot of trauma in life.
Oh
Uh,
yes,
and if you never went through trauma or fear or doubt or confusion, you'd never learn how to deal with trauma or doubt or fear or confusion. Fact.
absolutely.
I look at life, the more curveballs you send to me, the better batter I'm going to become. Period.
Oh, that's
Why
really
not?
cool. That's
Why
right.
not?
So when you went to heaven and you were feeling that expand, or I guess it was heaven. You said it was heaven.
It was
So
infinite
you
mind
felt
heaven, yeah.
really, yeah. So you felt expansion, right?
Hmm.
Do you think that when everyone gets past that point, that's what they might feel as we expand? Like, do you think that's something that happens in real death?
I think so. I can't prove it, but it seems
Of
so
course.
apparent to me that, oh, that's how the soul, because when we come into the mother at birth, we get an impression of every astrological symbol and everything, you know,
Right.
right down to the baby at birth,
Mm-hmm.
And I also believe that that baby at birth uh, may be one of many souls, and they didn't fight and compete to decide who gets to come. It's not that sort of a system. It's a very graceful,
Right.
you know, pres
Yeah. Right.
allow you to take this birth, Sister Sarah, because you need this one with Mamacitas or whatever. I don't believe in accidents. I don't believe in coincidences. Uh, and I believe that what I went through and everybody goes through can be used as a teaching lesson. We can learn from the good,
Mm-hmm.
we can learn from the bad, we can learn from the ugly, we can learn from the curveballs, and we can learn from the straight balls. And I vowed to myself, and I certainly encourage everybody to do this, vow to learn and grow from everything. Because we
Mm-hmm.
can't change the past, we can't change other people, we can't change our DNA, history, how quantum physics works, go on and on and on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's what's important is always what we can change. And
Mm-hmm.
that's always our perception. Not the situation, it's how we
Absolutely.
look at it.
That's
And that's
right.
free will. That's the best gift of free will. We're not stuck with only one ability to look at one thing one way. We may be stuck physically by all kinds of limitations, but not spiritually, not mentally, not psychically. The one part of being human that's unlimited internally, spiritually, psychically. So
Absolutely.
I believe people can and should grow in that area because it's empowerment. You don't have to, but right now the whole world is going through this extreme
Oh,
transformation.
it
And like
is.
I said, I saw this 45 years ago. It kind of scared me then. Look at it now, it's kind of haunting, but I see that it's necessary.
Do you
You
see
know,
that people are awakening?
I see, yeah, by
Yeah,
choice or by force or something. Not
that's
everybody.
right.
Some people are getting more angry and getting more guns and
Yeah.
getting more evil.
Yeah,
But we have to see the holes in our systems and in ourselves and our flaws.
that's right.
And we're certainly getting to see them. We've got a 360, 24/7 IMAX view of everything that's screwed up so we can unscrew it up, so we can fix it.
Yeah.
You can't fix a
Sometimes things
problem
have
if
to
you don't know.
break
Pardon me?
before you can fit. Sometimes you have to, some things have to break before it can be fixed,
Yeah, and our
right?
systems and ourselves we're seeing
Hmm.
them outdated, so we do have to upgrade by choice, by practice. Your car doesn't go change its own oil because it needs to. You got to take it to the shop, you know.
Hmm.
Proactive, proactive, proactive.
Well, I agree. So, as if I can read that because, I have no glasses on. Sometimes I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, what the heck? Oh my goodness. So, what now, Gary? What do you do now? Actually, don't answer that. I want to ask you this first. Actually, it just came into my head. Where do we go after this life, in your opinion? So I just got that.
We
So,
return our souls return to the other side, some level of infinite mind and infinite possibilities. And like I said, there's as many levels there as there are biological levels on this planet.
right?
You got everything from amoeba to people and monkeys and sparrows, and on the other side, it's got all these levels too. They're just not quite as they're not in time and space. They're not as separate and as clearly defined as they are here in time and space. Like I said, you can have two or three things going on simultaneously in the same spot on the other side because it's not limited by time and space. Here you can't. So I think we return to that infinite mind, some level, some form, with an awareness of what we can and should and need to do that's probably a lot more clear than what we get on this planet. But what we get on this planet is for better or for worse, but certainly necessary. It's got ego in there. It's got self. It's got me. It's got
Yeah,
survival. It's got all these
that's right.
that came out of, the ability to survive. We don't survive. Nobody can't carry on the process of
Exactly.
evolution, you know.
Exactly.
So I believe we return to this infinite mind at some level
Mm,
with a certain ability to look back on ourselves or our life and sort of set a scenario for what we need and want to do next. And again, no two lives are the same, no two people or experiences are the
right.
same. So there's an infinite amount of possibility. But most likely, if you return to this planet, you're not going to return as an alligator, okay? You return to some mother in some form of humanness, in some
Hmm.
culture, in some conditions, with certain strengths and weaknesses, but definitely a lot of things to deal with and learn from. And because if we didn't incarnate in time and space, I look at everything that exists, especially people, because we're the observers. I look at it as just a doorway for infinite mind to experience itself
Absolutely.
in infinite ways. Everything from a quark to a subatomic particle to a bird to a cloud to humans, which have
Right.
self-awareness. But
Hmm.
a cloud doesn't need self-awareness. It's certainly pretty, though.
Oh, it's beautiful. Gary, if you knew that someone was seeking answers about consciousness, afterlife, and their own spiritual path, what kind of advice do you think you could give them?
Be curious, number one.
Hmm.
Ask, number two. We have to ask our guides to help us. And I did way back from the time I was a little Catholic altar boy. Like I said, six brothers, and I'm the only one that was very enthusiastic about or very interested in learning how does God work? If these are the rules we're going to be judged by, we got to know them, you know?
Hmm.
So, ask, think big, meditate, meditate, meditate.
Hmm.
Because just like if you close your eyes, or I pull this USB up, port out, you don't see me. You close your eyes, you can't see anything. Our conscious mind, by its basic nature, stops about 99% of the subconscious from getting through so we can tie our shoes and go to our
Mm,
jobs.
right.
That wall between conscious and subconscious, however it is, spiritually, physically, mentally, mine dissipated. And all of a sudden, when I went through this experience, I could feel my
Right.
subconscious, everything it was thinking about, picking up symbols, signs.
Right.
I couldn't think
Hmm.
about the conscious mind much. What would I be doing if this was off, if this was not
Hmm.
overwhelming? But that was irrelevant question because it was on and I didn't know why. So, yeah, be curious, ask. Our guides can and will help us, but they need to be asked. They need permission. They do not have the right to come in and just trample over your free will. But they can bring up situations with the assistance of, you name it, life
Hmm.
itself, curveballs. They can help present situations where we hopefully scratch our head and think outside the box and ask the right questions. Like now, in this extreme time on the whole planet, it's like
Hmm.
higher mind is asking you and me and everybody, do we got your attention?
Yeah. Ooh,
Now
isn't
that
that
we
the
got your
truth?
now that we got your attention, do you want to be part of the solution, the improvement, or are you still going to look for a complaint department, which ain't going to be around,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So be part of the solution. But yeah, what I suggest, think outside the box, ask your guides, meditate. I went through so much depression, anxiety, and right now I'm 78. I go through a lot of physical things. I can barely walk. I've got a whole list of
Oh,
physical, but I'm the happiest person on the planet, dear. You know why? Because I get to decide that. And I
all
will.
right.
And I do.
Hmm.
And why not?
That's right.
There's too much stuff I can't change, but I can change the way I look at myself and life and everything. And I've certainly been through some crises just like everybody else. Uh,
Yeah.
but I was fortunate enough to learn and encourage other people to investigate and keep investigating the possibility of your own mind, your own heart, your
That's
own
right.
spirit, your own intentions being the
Hmm.
real power in life, because it is. It's where it all
That's right.
begins and all ends here. If we got that working, that light on, our hearts, our intentions, we're still going to get curveballs, but we're going to deal with them with a lot bigger bats and a lot
Right.
more determination.
Gary, for those who want to learn more about your work, your services, your offerings, where can one find you? And could you tell us about what it is that you do, your published works, your services, and all of that, please?
Well,
And I will have all the links in the description box below.
okay, yeah, I was an electrical engineer in college, but never used it. Worked as a musician in early 70s and beyond. I started giving readings in 1980. I learned this system,
Hmm.
lithomancy. And again, if people want to find out or book me for readings and so forth, which I still do, go to lithomancy.com, lithomancy.com.
Okay.
Or you can go to GaryWimmer.com, GaryWimmer.com. That's my homepage. It says actor, writer, musician, and psychic. Go click on the lower right picture. Excuse me.
Mhm.
That's a psychic link. You'll get to my same place that lithomancy.com will take you. Excuse me. Got some hiccups.
That's
Or you can go
okay.
GaryWimmer.com/psychic,
Okay.
PSYCHIC. So you can email me. In fact,
Okay.
I don't answer my phone very much because I've got constant telemarketing calls.
Oh, I know.
But yeah, and so
We will just
email
use
me.
your email is good.
Yeah, email me and
Yeah.
email me your complete name and phone number, and I will respond and be able to set up a time, maybe the next day, maybe the next week, depending on how booked up I am. But my
Okay.
email is very simple. It's GW, as in Gary Wimmer, GW at GaryWimmer.com. GW at GaryWimmer.com. And you can contact me that way, send me your phone number and information, and I will respond. That's the best way. Email me. That's the best way. If you do call me, 512-707-0836. That's my landline. I don't answer it because I get spam calls, but you can leave a clear message with your phone number and email, because if you don't leave a message, I don't respond. I look at my who's called
Okay.
and I get like 10 calls, and I think most of them are people spamming me thinking this is a text phone
Oh, and
because,
no text, right?
yeah, no text. Right. This is a landline, 512
That's
seven
right.
zero seven. I don't text. I hate pushing little buttons. I can't do it. I got neuropathy. It takes me 5 minutes to write a sentence. Screw
No.
that. I'll use email or phone. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, people can leave me a clear message. The best way is email me, GW@GaryWimmer.com, and go to GaryWimmer.com. You can see the links of, you can
Yeah.
see about these books and trailers, and you can see some of my life as a musician and a writer and so forth. But I certainly
Such a
thank you
wonderful.
so
Oh.
much for your time today, girl, and for having me as a guest.
Mhm.
I'm so honored.
Oh, you're so welcome, Gary. You're not off the hook yet.
No,
I
I just
just,
want, I just
you
want to let
thought
you know.
so, though. That's okay. I just wanted to know if you had one message for everyone listening today, with like a core message from your experience in this life that you wish that everyone would carry with them.
Yeah, I'll say it this way. We're going through the biggest world transformation humankind has ever been through. Yeah, the planet's been through bigger transformations, but not humankind. It's extremes, and it's not an accident. It's life trying to show all of us what we can and should learn next, and presenting us with curiosity and scratching our head. But we individually and collectively get to choose whether to pay attention, heed the call, benefit, grow, evolve, make it a better world, or do none of the above.
Right.
So choose to be part of the growing, evolving, in spite of the chaos, the fear, the inflation, the doubt. Yeah, okay, there's all kinds of crap. I look at life. If life kills you, you're on the other side, problem solved.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, if you're still here, we still can learn something.
That's
There's
right.
no accidents
That's
and
right.
no coincidences. Everything is meant to help us evolve and grow. Do we see it that way? Do we use it that method? Not necessarily. But that doesn't mean you can't. It just means you haven't yet. So stay
Right.
empowered. Think outside the box. Put fear and doubt aside If you never went through it, you'd never learn how to overcome fear and doubt,
That's
period.
right. Thank you
So
so
stay
much.
inspired, folks.
What a beautiful message. Gary, I want to thank you so much from my heart for opening and sharing your extraordinary experience with all of us today. Your story gives us all a glimpse into the infinite possibilities of consciousness and reminds us that we're all connected to something much greater than ourselves. And for that, I want to honor you today. Thank you so, so much for being here.
Thank you, MJ. Stay empowered,
You're
stay
welcome.
inspired, and same
You
to your
bet.
listeners. Think big. Think outside the
Yes,
box. Think home
you
run.
bet.
Think
Every
growth.
day.
Think win, win, win.
And to everyone watching and listening, I hope this conversation inspires you to stay open to the mysteries of life, to trust your own inner experiences, and remember that there's always, always more going on beneath the surface than we might even realize. And until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep returning to the truth within you.